Hey, Dave DeBow, welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about how to leverage equity in investment property. Now this is really important because people want to leverage the money they have in their investment properties to buy more. That's what we're talking about here today. All right, so in today's video, we're going to talk about why people want to leverage equity in their investment properties and 7 different ways to make that happen, as well as a fun case study of one of our clients who's rocking it with this. All right, so let's take a look at an example on the magic whiteboard here. So we got a property here. It's worth $400,000. All right, now let's pretend that you either put 25% down on this property or you've owned it for a little while, but either way, you've built up $100,000 in equity in this property. So that's what's represented here. And you've got $300,000 in debt. So in other words, you've got a $300,000 mortgage on this property, and you've got $100,000 of equity that you want to access in order to go out and buy more properties. So this means that your debt ratio, your debt service ratio is 75%. You've got 75% of the value of the property in debt. So there's a couple of different things. You can go back to the bank if you want to get money out of your property, and you can try to refinance your property and get the bank to give you the money that way, to create a new mortgage for you. It could be a line of credit on the property. It could be a whole new mortgage. Whatever it is, you're going to try and get the bank to do that. But here's the challenge. Typically, especially for investment properties, the bank will only go to 70 to 75% loan to value. So that means if it's a $400,000 property, the bank is comfortable lending up to $300,000 on it. Well, guess what? That doesn't do us any good because that's exactly what we've got. So the bank isn't going to do that, or if they do, the amount that you're going to be able to access is minimal. So what other choices do we have? Well, we have to look at non-bank options here. So we have to look at private money. Why do we want to look at private money? Because it's a lot more flexible. So if you're working with private lenders, depending on who you're working with, you could very well get in the range of 90 to 100% loan to value. So that means if you got $100,000 equity and you work with a private investor, you could very well get $90,000 to $100,000 out of the deal and have it fully 100% financed, or 90 to 100% financed. So that means that you can access your capital and you can use that to go buy your next investment property. So let's take a look at some of the different ways to access this private capital. Okay, so the first thing we can look at is finding an investor partner that'll come on board after the fact. We already own the property, and get security on this property, probably through a second mortgage. And let's say we get the person to loan us $100,000 as a second mortgage, and we find somebody who's got $100,000 cash available, and they can do it that way. So that's the first way, is with just straight cash. Now the challenge with that is not a lot of people have $100,000 just lying around, so they're kind of few and far between. We have to look at some different options. Here's the second option. There we are. We can get our investor to get a home equity line of credit, a HELOC, on their primary residence if they have enough equity in their house to do this. So what they do, let's say they got a property and it's worth $200,000 and they only owe, or they own it free and clear. They can go and get a home equity line of credit on that for $100,000, loan that to you as a second mortgage on your property, and obviously they're going to be making payments on their HELOC. You're going to be making them payments. The payments you make them should be higher than what they have to pay the bank. That's how we make it worthwhile for them. But think about this. This is a way for your investor partners to leverage their home equity to invest in a deal with you. This is a way for them to use the bank's money to make more money. Kind of a poetic justice there, isn't it? And that kind of a nice twist on things. So if you find people that got lots of equity in their home and you're able to pay them more than what they have to pay the bank, this could be a very good option. But there's a third option that could be even better than the first two. Let's take a look. There we are. This is a third option. Getting access to your investor's individual retirement account money. So what does that mean? A lot of folks have retirement money put aside in the States in 401ks or Roths, in Canada in RRSPs or RIFs or different investment vehicles there. And this is money that the government is allowing them to invest on a tax-deferred basis. That means they can invest this money and they don't have to pay any tax on their returns on that money until they start withdrawing. So again, the government gives people a lot of incentives to set up IRAs to cover them in their old age. Now, unfortunately for most people, they put their money in mutual funds, stocks and bonds, etc., with financial planners, and the only people that tend to make money on those deals are the financial planners. All right. So if we can show people a much better way to get a much higher return on their money backed by something solid and tangible, your property, and without all the fees that they have to pay their financial planner, then a lot of people will take you up on that. And here's the great news. Typically, you don't have to pay as much interest on that kind of money. Also, you don't have to make monthly payments on it. They really don't care. It's going into their retirement account. You can pay that, monthly if you want to. You can pay it quarterly. You can pay it semi-annually. You can pay it once a year. You can make a balloon payment after X number of years. There's tons and tons of flexibility here. And there are literally trillions of dollars of money out there looking for a better home. So this is one of the ways that you can access your equity in your property, is to show other people how they can invest their retirement funds and get a much better return. It's a win for you. You get to access your money. It's a win for them. They get a much better return. Everybody's happy. All right, one of my favorite stories about doing this very effectively is our client, Matt Prychun. Matt's a very, very astute real estate investor. He got started doing wholesale deals and he had his own business. He was doing a lot of wholesale type deals. He started doing flips and he built up quite a nest egg between the profits he made from his primary business plus the profits he made from doing flips and wholesale deals. He built up quite a bit of capital and he went out and he bought a bunch of properties. But then he got stuck. He ran out of cash. He ran out of credit to do more deals. Well, actually, he ran out of cash. He could still get more credit to do more deals. He just didn't have any more money. So instead of going out looking for joint venture partners, like a lot of people do, nothing wrong with that, what Matt did instead was he went out and he looked for people with a lot of money in their retirement accounts. So he had a whole bunch of properties like this with built-in equity. So what he did, instead of finding joint venture partners to buy more properties, is he found investors to invest their retirement accounts into his existing properties as second mortgages. Then he was able to take that capital out and buy more properties on his own and then rinse and repeat the whole process. He's done this numerous times. It's working super well for him. His investors are very, very happy. In fact, he was telling me about one lady that he was telling about this and she was kind of skeptical. And he said, well, hey, you know what? Go take a look at what kind of real returns you're getting on your RRSPs with your financial planner. Because the financial planner had been telling her she's getting this, but what the financial planner wasn't telling her was how much they were taking out for fees every single year. All right, they're kind of sneaky that way. So anyhow, she went and took a look and really crunched the numbers and realized that she was only averaging something like 1.5% on her money year in, year out. She was wondering, why is my portfolio, why is my RSP fund not growing? It's just kind of stagnant. That's exactly why. The only people that were making the money were the financial planner and the big financial company he worked for. So she said, hey, Matt, I'm all in. So now she's got all of her money. In fact, I think she transferred over something like $400,000 to invest with Matt in his real estate deals. And Matt's paying her something around, I believe, 8%, if I'm not mistaken. So she's making, she's making 4 to 5 times what she was making before, and she's getting regular payments on her money. She loves it. He loves it. A win-win scenario. So if you're interested in finding out how to do this yourself, I've got a suggestion for you. It's kind of a self-serving suggestion, but I'm going to suggest get a copy of my book. The price is right. It's free. I'm going to put a link for that in the show notes below, or you can go to investorattractionbook.com to get your copy. It's going to walk you through the entire process for finding these kind of investors, for showing them what you're up to, for presenting your deals, just like Matt did to raise all the capital he did for his deals. You can do the same thing.